Alright, so hi, today I'm here to do a 2014 year in review video. I'm going to be talking about my top 8 books of the year. First off, with one of the first books that I read in my top 8 for this year is Egghead by Bo Burnham. Bo Burnham is by far one of my favorite comedians. He is so funny and such a lovely person, and his book was absolutely no deviation from that at all. This is a hilarious book with really funny poetry, but there also are some really sweet pieces as well. He's just such a brilliant man who is so young. It's really annoying. I think he's, what, 22 and is so good at what he does. If you are interested in poetry or in comedy, I'd highly recommend this book because I think it really balances those two things very well. Next, I read one series this year, and it was this duology by Kirsten White, the Mind Games and the Perfect Lies series. Highly recommend them to anyone wanting to read something different in terms of YA. I don't read a ton of YA anymore, but this is by far my favorite YA series that I've ever read. It is about two sisters who go to this sort of like school for intelligent young women in Chicago, but it turns out to actually be a very terrible big organization that is doing a lot of illegal things, and it's not very good. One of the sisters is blind and the other one has perfect intuition, and it just creates this sort of, it's not totally fantasy or dystopian, but it has a little bit of something different to it than a typical contemporary, and adding in the fact that it's told in a non-linear timeline and between dual narrations, it just creates a very interesting story. Both books are very short and very easy to get through. I read them both in one sitting. The next book that I read was my favorite graphic novel of the year. It was Americanborn Chinese by Jean Luen Yang. It's 3 different stories that all come together at once. It's a story of like a young boy, Jin Wang, who is the only Asian student at his school until a new boy from Taiwan comes in, and there's sort of that story. Then there's this sort of like, it's a TV show that's basically built entirely on Asian stereotypes, and you get little like snippets of what this TV show is. And the last one is this ancient story dealing with Asian culture, and they all come together all at once, and it was just a really great story, really fulfilling, especially for a graphic novel. And this was really, I read it in one sitting. It was really fantastic, and I very much enjoyed it. It really dealt a lot with culture and Asian culture, especially something that I'm not super familiar with, so I was really happy to get an understanding of it, or at least a taste of it, in this. My next YA one, my last YA pick, is Every Day by David Levithan. David Levithan is one of my favorite authors. He's very high up there. He's a lovely man. And I read Every Day this year on an airplane and fell in love with it. It's a beautiful story about this person, who wakes up every single day in a different body, and it was really interesting because it made me think a lot about how non-essential our physicality is, how it isn't important what you look like, or you know, who you are physically. You know, so much of who you are is in your mind, because A falls in love with a girl, and you know, she has to learn to fall in love with this person who changes every day. How can you do that? And I don't know, it makes me think a lot about sexuality and gender identity and so many other things. I also read the poetry of Sappho in If Not Winter. It's called Fragments of Cepheid. It's by Anne Carson, and this was a book that was a little slow going into it, but it was so fantastic when I finally got through it. Basically, Sappho is this wonderful woman, a very early feminist too, way back in ancient times in Lesbos around 630 BC is what the back of the book says. She was a brilliant woman who just was just so good, so ahead of herself, so ahead of her times rather. And this book is so tragic but so beautiful because it's just fragmentations of her work. We can't get the direct translations in their entireties, but we get little bits and pieces, and there are just so many beautiful things in here that I just adore. Sweet mother, I cannot work the loom. I am broken with longing for a boy by slender Aphrodite. Like, so many things that just are still true, and you get the Greek, and you get this is the Greek and this is the English, and it adored. The next book, my nonfiction pick, is The Evolution of Desire by David M. Buss. This is a book that I read for my Evolution of Human Sexual Behavior class, by far my favorite class that I've ever taken, and I adored this. If you are looking to understand anthropology sexually, or if you're looking to just learn more about the evolution of sex and the evolution of sexual behavior in humanity, this is, I think, a very good sort of mesh of anthropology and evolutionary psychology. It is a very good breaking, like, it's a very good just kind of like hit the ground running sort of book if you're looking to get into evolutionary psychology, specifically sexual evolutionary psychology, which is something that I did this year, and I very much recommend this and loved this book. And the last book, my favorite book of the year by far, is Wonder by R.J. Palacio. This is the story of a little boy named August who has severe facial deformities, and it's a story going to school for the first time. He is such a lovely character, such a good character. The story is told in multiple perspectives from many different characters. You get August, you get his sister, you get his bully, you get his best friend, you get everyone. And I've never read a book where I just felt so privileged to have read this story and to be so privileged to like know this character. Like I feel honestly like I am lucky because I read this, because this is such an amazing man, this little boy, who is not real, but he is so lovely and so incredible, and he makes me so excited about humanity that I feel so lucky to have read this, and I highly recommend reading this. It is a middle grade book. It is very, very easy to read, and it is so beautiful. I hope you cry your eyes out, because it is so absolutely worth crying your eyes out. Those are my top books of 2014. I'm gonna do a part 2 with all of my movies and TV shows that I've watched this year. So yeah, thanks for watching my book section, and check out my movies and TV shows next. I might even do like a makeup version. But those are my favorites. Let me know what yours are below, link me a video, whatever. Thank you so much for watching. I very much appreciate it, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!